Arachnophobius. The creatures on this planet developed new methods of hunting, unique and potent. The first settlers were massacred by the wildlife and the planet was labeled as a dead zone. Why haven't we heard of it then? Why is there no record? My only guess is that this is first contact. The entire bridge stared at the doctor in befuddled confusion at his statement. Todar smirked, knowing a clunky explanation would be all they receive. We travel in time and space. I know much of your people's future as well as their past. How does that work precisely? The precise answer would take longer than we have. The concise answer even more so. We should focus on the issue. I believe a creature from that planet was pulled into the ship along with the fuel scoop. The creatures of Phobius, as I said, have very specific hunting methods, namely the use of psychic manipulation. Many of them are weak and fragile, so the apex predators aren't the toughest, rather the most mentally attuned. They can manipulate emotions, memories, reactions, or impulses from great distances, awakening prey without ever having to attack or fight. So some beast is giving people depression. This isn't depression. This is beyond. This is total destruction of will and self. You don't just get sad and take a blaster to your face. It's destroying the very core of who you are. How do you know this stuff then, clever boy? Because I've been there. I've walked that line. I didn't fall, but I know so many who have. It's never easy. It's never something you do without feeling there's nothing else to do. He's right. This is beyond anything. How do we fight something we can't see, can't track, or can't predict until it's already inside our head? With exceptional cleverness, we have means the creatures don't and can't predict. Technology will out. The words clicked in Geltus's mind quickly, and he returned to his computer. Helgelod was slower to make the mark, and redirected his focus and irritation once again. Precisely what can we do? You never explain yourself, you irritating man. Think about literally anything for longer than a second, Helgelod. We can scan organic life forms on this ship. We don't hire non-humanoid species, so every life form should be easily recognizable. A planet with no humanoids may have varied life, but they'll also have anomalous life. It'll be easy to find something that's wrong. Great. A scan works, but how do we protect people from this creature? It's still gonna hunt. I'm pretty sure you don't want to lose more people to it. Our staff as stretched as it is, we must ensure there's no more deaths. Todar and the doctor exchanged silent, knowing glances with an almost telepathic agreement to address this callous framing of the crisis. However, both knew this was not the time to address the issue, and they carried on assisting the scans and analysis of the data. She fidgeted in a safe little crevice, growing increasingly more on edge. Her senses detected new strange sensations and impulses. These beings were obviously like her, like the others. She risked detection and attack every moment she lay there waiting, but also the devastation of hunger. She decided her tactics must not favor the hunt, but speed and efficiency. Her mind reached out across the near beings, not looking for a manipulatable mind, but the most already damaged mind. A mind she could break fast and quickly. She must consume. She must feast. She must escape. Why can't we scan the bridge first? Whatever it is obviously here. That's where the attack happened. Sadly, the scanning process has a locked priority system. The bridge is considered low risk, so it sits lower on the list of scan progress. Are all spaceships this stupidly inefficient? No. Yes. Our ships are the best cargo haulers in this system. We are hardly inefficient. For the time, certainly, but you'll have a long way to go before your ships are comparable to half the other galaxies in this area alone. I don't need to be lectured on the achievements of inferior species, Doctor. Why should I care about what some sentient ball of slime has achieved? Everyone perked up at this tirade of abusive language. The doctor tensed up. Todar braced himself against an innate urge to attack the commander, and Farron's face changed from fear to sorrow. Doctor, Edagald was most likely attacked by waves of depression and anxiety, inducing a suicidal state. Right? That would seem to be the most likely scenario. And is this their only method of attack? Decidedly not. They can manipulate almost any emotion that's excessive in their prey. They find the best weakness and use it as a weapon. Like anger. I don't like being spoken about as if I am not even in the room. Geltas, focus your mind. You are not yourself right now. Let me help you. Peasant. You were only hired because your position back home made you a cheap hire. I don't need you speaking to me as if you were my equal. You're nothing. You're nobody. That's all you'll ever be. I forgive you. I know you're not yourself. You know nothing of me. You know nothing at all. Pathetic woman. And Helglod, the fuckless, brainless brawn of this sorted operation. Never a problem you couldn't solve by punching it. No doubt the reason for your failures in love or any meaningful relationship. The doctor turned to stare Helglod down, uncertain of his ability to stand stoic against such a barrage. He was pleased to see him standing firm and unmoved, aside from the throbbing, tense veins in his neck and forehead. The doctor decided this was the moment to intercede. Geltas, I need you to look into my eyes. Focus on me very quickly. Why should I? Because I need access to your mind. I need to root this attack out of your mind. Why should I listen to some pompous ass in a ridiculous ensemble who just saunters in out of nowhere like he owns the place? I'd be perfectly within my rights to shoot you where you stand. Well, I tried the polite way. The doctor moved with remarkable speed, advancing on Geltas with outstretched hands, making contact with each of his temples. The doctor inserted his mind into Geltas's, reaching deep into his psyche to locate the affected emotional centers and numb them. Almost immediately, Geltas calmed down and went limp with exhaustion. He fell back into his chair, holding his head in his hands before slowly looking up, seeing the faces of everyone who'd been affected by his outburst. There's no point in apologizing. That was fully unacceptable. It doesn't create thoughts. It increases them. Never mind that. The conversations that need to be had can wait. For now, we track this creature and remove it from the ship. We'll return it to its planet. Potentially, the species of Phobius have a complicated history. I will kill it, Doctor. I cannot abide an attack on my own mind. You will do as I tell you, Commander. You may be in charge of this ship, but on this mission, I am the leader. You've already shown us who you are. Everyone went back to their investigation of the data in silence. But Geltas felt the stares of disapproval, shame, even animosity that fell upon him throughout. A new emotion swelled inside him, and he knew as much as he wished it otherwise. The creature they hunted played no part in it. The scan on the bridge is commencing. About time. It has to be in here. I'm beginning to think you're right. There's definitely a pervasive energy present here. One of the computers beeped loudly, and everyone centered around it. There it was, in this very room, an anomaly. An 8-limbed, small blur on a monitor, hidden away in the recesses of the room's many surfaces. All this because of a spider. A Phobius spider. Not the most creative name, but yes. They have exceptional psychic attenuation. They can manipulate an emotion to enormously focused extremes. But it attacked each of us in such different ways. No, it didn't. It attacked everyone in the exact same way. It targeted the exact same thing every time. But depression, anger, I see. It was all the same, just expressed differently. The clue is in the name, Phobius Spider. Fear. Farron was afraid of her wasted life in a job she hated. Geltas was afraid of his lack of superiority. Now look quiet! And I'm afraid of manipulation. Afraid of my life being a lie. I know. Because it's in my head right now. There was silence. The doctor started to advance, reaching a hand towards Todar, but he pushed it aside. Focusing his vision on the area of the room the scan had indicated was the hiding spot of their assailant, he approached slowly, with focus and determination, never breaking eyesight with the dark shadow he knew the creature was hiding in. The fear of spending my life being called a liar, knowing I was right, knowing I was sane, but always wondering if maybe they were right, wondering if maybe I was delusional, if maybe I was a broken person. So many years festering in fear of myself. Todar crouched into the hiding place, staring deeply into it. Speaking flatly and calmly, a small, light, hairy leg slowly extending from the shadows, reaching out. A fear that defined my life for so long, in so many ways, with so many different people. It's so large, so potent, so encompassing. And also a lie. At that, Todar reached into a pocket and pulled out a small piece of porcelain from it, the fragment of the doll that had impersonated his brother. He held it up, as if presenting it to the spider that barely revealed itself from its shadowy retreat. Because my fears were proven wrong. They were eliminated. The scars are still there, but I know I was always right. You found the wrong target. You pushed the wrong button. Because I'll never doubt myself. But you can. You're doubting yourself right now. You're realizing you failed. Too many times you've been deprived of a feast, of the sustenance you need to survive. You're reaching the end. You failed. You're going to die in a strange place that feels so uncomfortable and so alien, surrounded by beings that should have been food, but now get to watch you as you fail, starve, curl up, and die. Your life has been wasted and will end in this moment, hiding in a shadow. The spider seemed to respond to this, coming out entirely from its hiding spot, on feeble legs that shook under its weight, its eyes all focused on Todar. There was no attack, no attempt to escape, just the sound of Todar starting to cry before the spider took its own hooked forelimbs and used them to pierce its body. Todar stood up slowly, still stifling and wiping tears from his eyes, before turning back to the people in the room.
It's finished. I heard what she was feeling. She shared her own emotions with me. Afraid, alone, confused. She didn't know what she'd do in this cold, hard, shaking place. Even eating would only prolong what she was afraid of. A phobia spider produces fear. They shouldn't feel it. Yeah, that's why she ended it. She felt the things she'd done to so many creatures over her life. She couldn't take it. She broke under the weight of her own weapon. Fear gave in to fear.
The scans continued in sullen silence to ensure no other creatures were stowed away on the ship. The spider's corpse was resting on a table with curled legs, while Todar stared at it in quiet contemplation. The doctor was uncertain of when to intercede, so busied himself with the crew. Geltas was confined to a corner by himself, unwanted by any other in the room, as aide or companion. Farron cast continual looks in his way, but never felt enough to offer him support. Finally, as the scans finished, the doctor realized he couldn't put it off any longer and sat down beside Todar.
You were, once again, brave in a completely foolhardy way. You were also very deceptive with your performance.
You're incredibly perceptive, Doctor. It comes with the name. You didn't feed her false emotions. You fed her real ones. Technically, it was both. She latched onto my old fears, but when she did, I went into the current fears, the real ones. The ones that can't be disproven by dolls and adventures in trains and salvation by men in blue boxes. I gave her every darkness inside me. At a certain point, I wondered who would fall first. And once again, you survived against the odds. On your first adventure, against your first alien. Truly remarkable. How long can I survive myself, though? More people ask that question than you'd ever imagine, my dear boy. Fear makes companions of us all. It's how we channel that fear that gives us a path forward, or a fall into the pits of despair. Your bravery is stronger than your fear. I believe you can triumph over it. Over anything. And why do I feel so bad? Compassion. She may have been a predator, hunting people and twisting their minds, but she was just a creature trying to survive in a strange world.
The ability to see that through the horrors is exceptionally brave, kind, and, dare I say, human. Speaking of which, the doctor stood up and approached Giltas, but without the kindness he'd shown Todar. His pompous demeanor was replaced with stern, unrelenting disdain. Giltas sensed the aura of this approach and prepared himself for what was to come. Giltas, you revealed yourself today. The phobious spider finds what is already inside you. You are a man soaked in bigotry and obsequious professionalism. You caused much harm today, both directly and indirectly. Your betters would punish you, ostracize you, make an example of you. As well they should, I suppose. Perhaps. But I, however, am not one of your betters. As such, I offer you only this genuine advice. Become better. Stop viewing people by their station, their position, their gender, their sex, or their species. Thank you, Doctor. I will do my best to make amends. See you do. Or I may very well prove to be the best of your betters. Come along, Todar. Time we were off. Todar and the Doctor prepared to leave the bridge, reroute their path down the halls of the ship, and return to the TARDIS. As they walked away, however, a small, gentle hand reached out and grasped Todar's arm. He turned to see Farron standing there, staring at him with a brilliant smile. She sighed and moved closer. Thank you for being there for me, for stopping me. You understood me at a time when I barely even understood myself. You made me feel okay again. You literally saved my life. Of course I did. I've lived that moment for almost all my life. I'll always want to save someone from that. Thank you, Farron. There was a silent moment between the two, followed by Farron making a hesitant advance closer to Todar. He stayed her action by clasping a hand in his, raising it to his lips and kissing it. If only you'd been a boy. Goodbye, Farron. Have a wonderful future. She smiled and blushed while respectfully rescinding her advance, and Todar joined the Doctor in their slow march down the halls. And what was that then? Complicated psychic output. Something no species would ever be brave enough to feast on. I wouldn't be so sure of that, Todar. Or your people may not use it for hunting and feast like the creatures of Phobius. I've heard tell many tales of love sustaining people for decades. Perhaps. Personally, I'm enjoying the banquet of adventure more. We'll get no argument here. Well then, onward we go.
Bye.